As for God, His way is perfect, the Lord's word is flawless. He is a shield to all who take refuge in Him. That's Psalm 18 verse 30. Truly indeed, God is an awesome God that performs wonders and miracles into our lives. All praises belongs to Him. Hello everyone, I am your student teacher, Renaline Ordis from the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. Shout out to all of my classmates. Hello everyone. To all the BS Agid 3 students. To our beautiful instructor, Ma'am Helena Akot. Hi Ma'am. To my family, friends, and classmates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Now I have here a beautiful poem from Kevin William Hoff. It's entitled Teachers. Okay? Let me read this to you. Teachers paint their minds and guide their thoughts, share their achievements, and advise their faults. Inspire a love of knowledge and truth. As you light the path, each leads our youth. For our future brightens with each lesson you teach. Each smile you lengthen, each goal you help reach. For the dawn of each poet, each philosopher and king begins with a teacher and the wisdom they bring. Such a very wonderful and beautiful poem from our very intellect author, Kevin William Hoff. Okay, the reason why I introduced to you this poem because the topic that we are going to tackle this morning will be about, guess what? Okay? It will be about the teaching-learning process in the curriculum development. Okay? Now, for today's lesson, I have formulated 6 objectives. Okay? Let's tackle them one by one. Okay, the first objective is to define effective teaching. Again, to define what is meant by effective teaching. How are you going to foster effective teaching to your learner? Okay, the second objective is to explicate knowledge on teaching as a process. The third objective is to connect the 3 phases involved in teaching. The fourth objective is to identify the different indicators in the process of good teaching. Okay? Let's move along with our fifth objective. We have to circumscribe the learning process. Again, to circumscribe, meaning to define the learning process. And the last objective is to correlate the different theories of learning. Okay, these are the objectives of today's discussion. Okay, prior hand, I want to have some recap on the past topics that we had last time. Okay, we learned that Spanish education has played a vital or a major role in the establishment of our country's education. We know that the oldest colleges, universities, schools in our country were made or established during the colonial era. Okay, we also learned the different components in the curriculum development. Now, I want you to fasten your seatbelts because we are going to explore the teaching learning process in the curriculum development. Okay, let's get started. Okay, I want to ask these questions to you. What do you know about teaching? Again, what do you know about teaching? My second question is, what knowledge is needed to understand this process? Now, all of these questions will be answered as we go along with our discussion this morning. Now, listen very carefully and pay attention, okay? Good teaching is difficult to agree upon, while it remains to be difficult to agree on what good teaching is. Effective teaching can be demonstrated. Effective teaching is one that will bring about the intended learning outcomes. Okay? Traditionalists believe that teaching is a process of imparting and skills required to master a subject matter. It is a process of dispensing knowledge to an empty vessel, which is the mind of the learners. Teaching is showing, telling, giving instruction, making someone understand in order to learn. In this instance, the person who teaches controls learning. Teaching is now perceived as stimulating, directing, guiding the learner, and evaluating the learning outcomes of teaching. The teacher's role in teaching becomes complex but has given the learners the responsibility to learn. Teaching then is a process that enables the learners to learn on his or her own. The teachers now become a decision maker in the teaching process. Okay, let us look at we can now perceive that the teaching process is a series of actions from planning, implementing, and evaluating. Okay? In teaching, the planning phase includes decisions about the needs of the learners, the achievable goals and objectives to meet the needs, the selection of the content to be taught, the motivation to carry out the goals, the strategies most fit to carry out the goals, and the evaluation process to measure learning outcomes. The implementation phase requires the teacher to implement what has been planned. Based on the objectives, implementation means to put into action the different activities in order to achieve the objectives through the subject matter. Hence, two important players are involved, the teacher and the learner. Okay, the interactions of the teachers is important in the accomplishment of the plan. In the evaluation phase, a match of the objectives with the learning outcomes will be made. The kind of information should be determined so that the type of evaluation and will be chosen to fit the purpose. To give a feedback is to give the information as to whether the three phases were appropriately done to give good results. Okay? Okay, let's go further. Now, reflection is a process embedded in teaching where the teacher inquires into his or her actions and provides deep and critical thinking. On the basis of the diagram, basic assumptions can be made. The teacher is goal-oriented with a change of behavior as the ultimate end. The teachers are the one who shape actively their own actions. The teachers are, the teachers are the one who shape actively their own actions. Going further, the teaching is a rational and a reflective process. Again, the teaching is a rational and a reflective process. The teachers by their actions can influence learners to change their own thinking or desired behavior. Again, the teachers by their actions can influence learners to change their own thinking or desired behavior. Thus, teaching is a way of changing behavior through the intervention of the teacher. Now, let's go further with the indicators which you can use to guide in the process of good teaching. Good teaching is one that is well planned and where activities are interrelated to each other. Good teaching is one that provides learning experiences or situations that will ensure understanding, application, and critical thinking. Now, good teaching is based on the theories of learning. Good teaching is one where the learners are stimulated to think and reason. Okay? Going further, good teaching utilizes prior learning and its application to new situations. Good teaching is governed by democratic principles. Good teaching embeds a sound evaluation process. Again, good teaching embeds a sound evaluation process. Okay, I want to repeat it again. Good teaching utilizes prior learning and its application to new situations. Good teaching is governed by democratic principles. Good teaching embeds a sound evaluation process. Okay, do you understand? Okay, let's move along. Now, someone say that to teach is to make someone to learn. Okay. Now, what are the ways of learning? When do you say that you have learned? Learning is usually defined as a change in an individual's behavior caused by experiences or self-activity. It implies that learning can only happen through the individual activity on his or her doing. Most learning is intentional, like when the learner acquires knowledge in the classroom or when one observes a demonstration activity. Intentional learning occurs when activities are purposefully arranged for the students to participate and experience. There are two principal types of learning theory. The first one is behavioral learning theory, and the second is cognitive learning theory. Okay, let's tackle first the behavioral learning theory. It emphasizes the observable behavior as such as new skills, knowledge, or attitudes which can be demonstrated. Okay? Okay. We have... Okay. There are early behavioral learning theories. These are the following: Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning theory, Edward Thorndike's law of learning, B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning, and last but not the least, Albert Bandura's modeling or observational learning. Again, these are the early behavioral learning theories. The first one is Ivan Pavlov's classical conditioning theory, followed by Edward Thorndike's law of learning, B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning, and Albert Bandura's modeling or observational learning. Okay, these are the theories existing. Okay? On the cognitive models, we have Jerome Bruner in 1966, David Osobel in 1968, and Robert Gagné in 1970. Now, these three models describe three models of teaching which are anchored in the cognitive learning theory. Again, these models describe the teaching as anchored in the cognitive learning theory. Okay? Let's tackle first the discovery learning of, Jerome Bruner. Okay. Learners are inherently curious that they can be self-motivated until they find answers to the problems. Learners, when actively involved in their own learning, will continuously construct their own knowledge. Okay? Learning is flexible, exploratory, and independent. Okay, let's go further with perception learning theory by David Osobel. Okay. Though learners are inherently curious, they may not be able to know what is important or relevant, and they need external motivation in order to learn. Learners should be actively involved in their own learning. Learning is important in order to learn new things, because knowledge